In a world where two short-term rental bros come together.
What?
Not in that way, bro. There's a podcast of truly epic proportions where we talk about all things short-term rental and shoot the shit along the way. Welcome to the Co-Host Bros Podcast. Here are your hosts, Matt Codd and Austin Spitz.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Co-Host Bros Podcast. My name is Matt Codd and I'm here with my buddy Austin Spitz in the house. We have a special guest. Ryan Leake went from 0 to 10 in under 10. Before we introduce Ryan, I do have a special announcement of the winner who left our review. I haven't announced it yet. I'll be sending you an email as soon as I fix it because I fucked the DNS up. So everybody, thank you. Pedro Samariaba. So you know your name. So thanks. I'm gonna mail you something. Can't say your name, but yeah. So anyway, we got Ryan Leake, and he went from 0 to 10 properties in under 10 months. So what's going on, Ryan?
What's up, guys? Appreciate you having me. Great to be here, and hell of a pronunciation there. You do great. You do great in Mexico.
Samariba. Oh, Samariba. Okay. There's too many R's and a couple O's, and yeah. Not my strong suit.
Pedro knows who he is. He'll find you if he wants his gift, right? If not, next in line. Yeah. So backstory on Ryan, man. Like, I think where did I meet you, Ryan? Was it the Wealth Conference? That was the first time,
met
right?
In Nashville. Yep. STR WealthCon.
I think I had a few properties that I was managing under my old company, and I met him there, and I just remember he was just this happy-go-lucky guy, and I was like, started talking to him. I was like, "How many do you own any properties? Do you manage any properties?" No. And I was like, "Well," he's like, "I'm just here figuring it out," and it's just super crazy to me that like now we are here 10 months later, like Matt said, and you have a boutique management company, 10 properties under management, doing 10K plus or whatever that is, whatever that number is a month, and working for yourself, right?
Yeah.
Wait a minute here. That's fantastic. Hold on, Austin. You said your old company, and nobody knows what you're talking about.
Yeah, I guess we should plug that. Well, I recently merged with another company, so still kind of doing the same thing, still in the same market. We merged with a much bigger operator, but they're friends of mine. I've known them for a long time, and I think I was a kind of a piece of the puzzle that they were not necessarily lacking, but I could just come in and make a difference, and they could take over my properties, and I don't have to do a lot of the stuff because they have the systems and processes in place. So now the name of the company that I'm working with is Lazy H Retreats, and it's been awesome so far. So that's my story. But
Yeah. That's awesome,
that's
man.
good, Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I also know I'm in Austin, Texas, and my company, Host Del Casa, does management here, but we're pretty close to Lazy H Retreats down in San Antonio or like Canyon Lake area. That's your main region. Is that right? Or Hill Country, sort of, Central Texas. Yeah, so I was managing or leading a meetup here in Austin for short-term rental operators and hosts with Rashmi, so plugging her in there, who's with Lazy H, and she's fantastic. That company's fantastic. Scriven's great. So congrats. That's fantastic, man.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah.
But enough about Austin. Let's
Yeah,
talk
so
about you,
right
Ryan. Let's talk
sure.
about you, Ryan. Yeah. What color socks you wearing? No, I'm just kidding.
It's gray. I'm going gray today. But I mean, man, I wanna go back to kind of Austin's intro there, and I appreciate you doing that. We met, as you said, we met in Nashville, and that was really one of my first jumps into the STR space. So when I wasn't initially going to go to this conference, and I joined STR Secrets Mastermind. I found it on a Instagram ad, a month before, and then their sales team reached out to me. The timing was interesting because I had gotten politely asked to leave my previous company because I always had real estate entrepreneurship visions. So I was in between starting a flipping business, a wholesaling business, or something in the short-term rental space. And that's when the algorithm for Instagram popped up this ad. I found Short-Term Rental Secrets, that coaching program. And part of the package was if you sign up, then they'll send you to STR WealthCon. And that's what really kicked off the entire journey. Like that was one of the first things I did. That I met guys like Austin that are just fired up, that are hard workers, that have these high ambitions that really fit the kind of person I am. And it got me very, very motivated to put my head down, start cranking away to get to those 10 listings in 10 months. So it really has been a journey over the last year. But that's where it all started.
And then you started a meetup in Austin, right? Like, how's that been for you? Like, has that helped you? Maybe it didn't help you get clients anyways, but did that further like help you get more tapped into the short-term rental? Because I've seen videos of it and you guys seem to have like a really good turnout.
Yeah, so that was through the STR Secrets coaching program. So essentially the way it was structured is Rashmi and I were the boots on the ground operators for that meetup. So the first few meetups, we were getting 40 to 50 people attending, and it was great. Definitely, I think what it did for me was put me in touch with a lot of strong vendors in the space. One of the things, if that continues, I'd really like to start finding more owners, because that was one of the biggest things. I wanted to build my brand, get some recognition in this market as a local expert. And a bunch of vendors like lenders or cleaning teams or photographers were attracted to the meetup, all hoping to find some owners. But a lot of the owners weren't the ones showing up. So that's one of the things we noticed. And if we continue to do that monthly meetup, that's something we would try to retarget. But right now we've kind of put that on pause as we both have Rashmi and I both have some other business that we're more focused on. But overall, it was a good experience.
How do you plan on targeting them?
Go ahead.
The owners?
Yeah, sorry, Austin. Yeah, how do you plan on targeting the owners?
More directly than a monthly meetup. So where I found success, and I can go through all my first in order how I got each client, but really I've been doing much more. Go ahead.
What's the most? That's what I was going to say. What, like, if you went from 0 to 10 in 10 months, I think the question people are thinking in this, like, what has been the most impactful, I guess, marketing method that you use, or like, was it through Facebook groups? Was it a little bit of, the UI method or whatever, where you're skip tracing them? What has been the most? Is it a variety of these, or was there like one more impactful way of like how you got from literally 0 to 10 in 10 months?
Yeah, for me, it's agent outreach. So the UI method is heavily talked about in our specific coaching program, but I found that agents are going to be the ones with much more deal flow, and they're going to be so much more tapped into a number of owners. So if I'm just thinking at scale, how am I going to be exposed to the most potential owners? I felt agents was a better way to do it than going directly to owners. I think the probability per lead is higher with something like the UI method, because you know they have a pain point, which is poor property management services, most likely, or poor reviews. So you're able to vet that out using AirDNA, Rabu, whatever you're using. I still found like agents were a better source for me because I could call one agent that's connected to hundreds of potential owners, and they know they're already in the market, they're already active. They know who's either looking to rent out their place or potentially consider a sale. And then I could be plugged in as the manager for the new investor. So, man, I mean, when I first started, also, I think this is kind of just a funny anecdote. Like, I was going into agent offices with boxes of cookies and flyers, like printed out flyers. And I'd shake their hand, introduce myself, say, hey, I'm Ryan. My company, Host El Casa, does short-term rental management services in Austin and Hill Country. And hopefully we can help your clients out. And I found there's a really symbiotic relationship because a lot of agents, there's so many agents, as we know. A lot of them don't have a direct plug into the short-term rental space. So I found that they were finding a lot of value, especially through the data I could provide them. So, part of this STR Secrets program is you get access to AirDNA. So I have all the data from there, and I'm able to provide them revenue projections. So let's say they have a seller that's maybe their property isn't moving, but it could be a potentially solid Airbnb. I can provide revenue projections that they can throw on that MLS listing to make it more marketable or attract a wider range of buyers. And then if we want to talk about helping their buyers, we can now give them another option. If they're working with investors, we can say, all right, this property can make X amount as a long-term rental, X as a mid-term rental, and then maybe like 3X as a short-term rental. And here's what the numbers would look like based on the comps through the data from AirDNA. And then also agents are usually getting hit up first when they have an owner that's like, should we sell? Should we rent it out? What do we do? And this is another option. So we're adding value to them by them being able to add value to their clients. So it was really a win-win situation reaching out to a lot of these agents, and they're not getting hit up by all these different STR managers. Some, but not all. All the owners are getting hit up, but the agents already have the warm connection with these people.
It's probably rare.
Yeah, I'd rather take the warm connection than the cold lead. But again, I am a true believer you can be successful in so many different prospecting methods. That's the one that worked for me, though. Yeah, I guess I'll stop there if you have any questions.
Yeah, I think that's really good. And I've found tremendous value in that too, because a lot of time the agent might be selling a really nice house, or they're a very popular agent, and they may be, maybe 10% of their deals. It's pretty rare that there's these niche investors that only do STRs, right? So let's say 20% of their sales or 10% of their sales is short-term rentals, exactly like what you said. And I think that's a really, really slept on method. Because I like that method too. I use it a lot. And it's your goal is essentially to provide conservative projections of what you think you could do and help them. Essentially, the value that you're doing is you're helping them get the deal across the finish line, right? Like you're helping them sell the house because they're analyzing it as a short-term rental, and now you don't want to inflate the numbers. You want to be honest, because if you manage that and don't perform the numbers you said you're going to do, that's going to be your
Yeah.
ass, right? So
Yeah.
if you're conservative with your numbers and you tell them, hey, I think it could make 75K gross. Here's my pro forma. I broke it down. This is realistically what a situation could potentially like for you. And if that's what caused the deal to get done, I mean, you're helping that agent tremendously. And it's like, you're going to be their best friend because they're going to get paid. Right. So I think that's a super slept on method. I like that. I have never done the bringing pizza, cookies, whatever to their office, but I made a note. I'm about to add that to my bag. So I like that. That's good.
That's a grittier method for the beginners that are really hungry. But I think you bring up a good point there with expectation setting. I'm always going for the more conservative numbers when we provide revenue projections. I've been guilty of, and this is a big thing for brokers or agents, especially in the investment sales space, where they're going to try to buy the listing by saying, hey, we'll get you this amount. But I find it always leads to some turmoil down the line if that's not a real projection, or if that's not actually a realistic amount for the property to bring in or potentially sell for. So I like what you said about like creating realistic expectations there. And actually, I want to give another anecdote on that line, that because I'm still learning, man. Like I'm still growing in the space and fairly new. So one of the other things, if there's newer co-hosts out there, is as you scale, like for me, I know we've talked about this, Austin, my criteria for properties I'll take on has shifted a bit as I've grown. So now I'm trying to be much more selective with the properties I'm taking on. And I've started a few conversations with owners, essentially implying that I would be taking on their listing. And now I've looked at my new criteria and their property doesn't fit in that box, because their property could bring in potentially, 5 or 50 to 60K a year, when I'm targeting properties that are going to bring 80K or more. But I didn't set a good enough expectation with some of these owners. And now I'm saying, hey, I'm going to refer you to some other operators in the space. And they're a little pissed off and they're a little confused. And that's because I didn't set expectations, implying that I'm going to consider their property for my portfolio, but it doesn't necessarily mean that's a lock for us to work together. So that's one thing I'm learning in real time that I feel like could add value to someone else potentially listening is be very, very aware of the expectations you're setting with owners. Because there's always a chance that things will evolve, or maybe the property won't bring in as much revenue as you think, or maybe you might not even be able to take on that property, depending on how long that sales timeline is. So I just want to throw that out there because that's such a real time learning that I'm experiencing this last week. So maybe that can help someone else listening.
Yeah, I think I
That's
realized that.
tough.
I think I realized that with you when like I sent you a lead in Austin or something, and you're like, "No thanks." And I was like, "Damn!" Like 6 months ago, you'd have been like, "Yeah, dude, I'll take it." You're like, "No, no
Yeah.
thanks. It doesn't fit my box, my buy box anymore."
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think that's important though. Like because the first client I signed, I don't have anymore. I had to let go because it just didn't make enough money. It was too much
Yep.
work, and it just didn't make business sense. And it is what it is. But you kind of have to say yes to that in the beginning to get your swagger up, and then once you got your swagger up, it's kind of like, hey, like I can't do this anymore. Like I can't take these because it
Yeah.
doesn't fit what we're trying to do. And sometimes managing a 40K that's not going to put food on the table, right? Like
Right.
it's not going to work. But yeah, anyways, I'm with you on that.
I
Yeah.
think what you said is exactly right. I think that in the beginning you're just trying to get it, and then it's like, okay, now I evolve to like, okay, well this shit sucks over here. Let me get something better over here, right? So, I mean, and then there's people that just keep chasing the same thing no matter what. They just want to stack them, and it's like, at what point? At what point is you making $5,000 a year helpful, or whatnot? So,
Yeah.
I think that's awesome that you switched your buy box. I think that you have his growing pains right now, right? So you have to learn the hard way. You hit the door and you're like, shit, I didn't give clear expectations, and I made them think that I was going to take them on a date, and now I'm not, and
Yeah.
they're getting McDonald's,
Yeah.
So
He's
it's
been
like,
hitting. He's
I
been hitting
mean,
the gym. He's been hitting the
Yeah.
gym, and
yeah,
he's just in a different. He's in a different dating
No
pool
more
now, man.
McDonald's, dude. That's
different dating pool, dude.
But
Yeah, he's at the
no,
Dairy Queen. I'm
yeah.
just
yeah,
That's a real
exactly.
level up.
It's
Yeah.
it,
That's where
it's
you get the
bad, but
toothless ones.
you have to get those reps in with like those properties too, because a lot of people go into this like, oh, I'm only going to manage properties 150 or more. I'm like, yeah, so am I, but I actually do this already, right? Like you can't just start there. Like you can maybe,
Totally.
but then when you
Yeah.
start there, you're going to make all those mistakes on a $150,000 property that
Yeah.
you should have made on the 40K property for the learning experience.
Yep.
And it sounds bad, but it is what it is, and that's business. And it's just
It's
like,
just harder. It's
yeah,
just harder
exactly.
though. Like it's
And hopefully
harder to get them to sign on with you. You know
Right.
what I mean? The expectations are
Yeah.
higher at that price point because they're already making money. So why the fuck do they care about you, right?
it's
I
work
mean,
Right.
the 50,000 that's making 20,000, he's gonna be like, oh, you can help me make 5 extra grand. All right, like
Mhm.
so it's a different scenario, right? So
Yeah. I do think there's an element of earning your stripes in this business. That's from my experience. And also, I will say, something that's very commonly overlooked is reaching out to other operators as you're growing. So, like Austin, we were talking early on, but I was also talking to operators in Austin that I knew were at these places where I'm evolving into that aren't taking on these properties that are under an 80K revenue threshold. And for me, I'll take whatever I can get when I'm my
yeah,
first 5 properties. So like now even I'm referring a lot of business out to other operators. So there is this little sweet spot as you're growing where you can get a lot of business from these more established operators. Where a lot of people look at those more established operators as competition, that can actually be a little business funnel for you. So I like one of the things as one thing we didn't mention is I'm a coach for short-term rental secrets in the mastermind program, and I help people go from 0 to 10 listings now. And I'm really pushing for these students and these members to start reaching out to other operators in their local market because there is so much more deal flow coming through them, and the criteria box gets tighter as you grow. So as these operators get bigger and bigger, they're going to be passing more stuff on. So you can be right there collecting all the stuff they don't want, and hopefully there's still some decent properties in there. Um, just another stream that I found is effective.
Yeah, I think it's a mindset shift, right? Of like they're your competition, right? In a way, but like why can't you just work with them? Like just befriend them. Like
Yeah.
go to the meetup and talk to them. What's working for them? What's working for you? Or you can try and like keep all your secrets behind a closed door and have this scarcity style mindset. You're gonna move
Yeah.
at such a slower pace if you're gonna move at all. So like I'm a proponent of that. I don't care. Like if I know somebody owns something, I'm gonna be like, I know who that is. I'm gonna go talk to them and they're gonna be my friend after this. That's all
Totally.
I know.
And I mean, it's similar to the agent stuff too. You're adding just as much value to them. They still want to be able to serve these people because a lot of one of the larger operators, like I had an experience where the larger operator couldn't help this owner, so he referred them to me, and that same owner came back to them with a bigger property down the line because they made it clear that they took this luxury style property. So he got what he wanted, which was this owner's business for a luxury property. I got what I wanted, which was a new client with the same owner. And the owner got what they wanted, which is two very solid operators in this market. So
Hmm.
you
Yeah,
can
and
also add a lot of value to these operators.
yeah, and then you and I have talked about this offline, but just like as simple as like what is the transition that's take place in my business over the last few months is like Scriven, Rashmi, and before I joined their team, like they were already my friends. Like if I never did that, I wouldn't even
Yeah.
have gotten the opportunity. And now it's like my whole
Yeah.
life is changed because of it. So it's like if I would have looked at them and said, "Oh, f them, I'm going to burn their business to the ground. I'm going to go call on all their clients." It's like maybe I would have got one or two clients out of it, but instead, like I joined their I'm a partner in their business now. So like I don't
Yeah.
know. It's just
You
it's
never know. You
yeah.
never know. I don't think you can. There's never a wrong in treating someone right. Like that's and I've seen that with you, man. Like I was so fortunate to get help early on from other operators in this business. And it's like now I owe them one. You know, other people were helping me. And now it's like, what can I do to help you? I'm like, my business is, I'm not so much drowning anymore. Where, for the first few months, it is a grind starting this business. And I was full time in it. So I'm just seeing my bank account, my savings start going down each month. But now that my business is off the ground a little more, and I'm starting to be net positive each month. I had my first $10,000 net month. I'm saying that as an inspiration, where it's like, oh, this stuff works. But like, I didn't get there alone. I got there through so much freaking support and like the whole "it takes a village" type of um, situation. Because like these other operators were helping me, these agents were helping me, people like yourself, Austin. We would just call each other up and keep each other motivated as we're both putting our head down and going through the grind. But yeah, like you never know who's gonna be either next business partner, who the next deal is gonna come from, who's gonna just pop in your life and be someone that motivates you. Whatever it is that you need at that time, you're not gonna get it if you treat people like shit. So I think that's a great philosophy to live
I
off.
think that's the most solid advice I've heard on this show. But yeah, I agree. I think that like what Austin's saying is that we don't if we just sat by ourselves, then we only know what we know, right? So
Yeah,
if we're all sitting around, like, I mean, because I do a meetup in Houston too, and you know, I honestly think it's super beneficial. I mean, every time I don't want to go, it's late at night, and I'm like, okay, let's go. I'm, you started it, you have to go. So, but then when I'm done, it's like, fuck, I learned so many things that I would have known otherwise. It's the same thing like having a conversation with you or any other guests that we have, or even me and Austin having conversations. Sometimes we go back and forth about, different things. And it's like everybody's here to learn from each other. So it's just if you're not out there talking to people, then I just think you're wasting your time. I mean, honestly, if you're not out there making connections with people, you're wasting your time.
yeah,
I didn't know anybody in the Austin market. I do know one person, and he's a listener of ours, and I just referred him a property probably like a week ago, and it makes about 120, and he's like super stoked. It's like the biggest property he's ever got an opportunity to manage. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's all it is, though, is a referral game because I'm not driving to Austin, or whatnot, or
Yeah,
whatever the case may be. So it's all who you
totally.
know.
And that's that's the value of also knowing some people in different markets, right? Like if I come to if I get a lead in Houston, I want to serve whoever I'm talking to. Like my goal with whatever
Right.
conversation I'm having is how can I add value to them? I don't really care where you're at. Like I'm in a nationwide mastermind group and I have connections like you guys where it's like there's an operator in pretty much any city in the US that I can put an owner in touch with. But I'm only taking stuff in Austin and I'm only taking stuff in the hill country. Like besides that, I'm pushing it out. So,
Yeah.
It goes back to just your overall network, but like, yeah, man, it's kind of like we're all in this together, like the co-host bros and the supporting cast. It's like all the people listening to you now also, you're providing them so much value. I'm sure if someone hears they got an owner in Houston or an owner in the Canyon Lake Hill Country area, they're going to go to one of you two.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't had anyone refer us a deal yet. I don't know about you, Austin, but no one's referred me yet.
Well, listeners, listen up.
I think
I've had
maybe
people
so.
ask me a lot of questions, but no one's referred me a deal just yet. Austin's referred me a deal, and some of our guests have referred me a deal. But I don't know, for our listeners, if you're out there getting deals for yourself, you can get me some while you're at it.
Yep,
I mean,
that's right.
share
Or
the
else no
love.
more podcasts for anyone. Or else
That's
you're
it. We're
canceling the
over.
show. Yeah,
That's it. We're changing our show to daisies and flowers, and we're gonna talk about butterflies and fucking rainbows.
That's right. It might blow up though. Be careful.
And
Be
how to create an
careful.
ant farm. So if you guys are interested in how to create an ant farm,
Oh man,
send some deals. I have no idea how you do that. We'll be Googling some things, but
demand's high right now for ant farms.
Okay, we're turning it into a joke here. Okay, Austin, I'll reel it in. So how important? So you pretty much got let go from your job. You lived off your savings, and you're just like, "Fuck, I'm all in. Let's just see what happens." Right?
Mm-hmm.
You join a mentorship program, which costs money. You're not making any money, so you start net negative.
Yep.
I don't know what the amount is. Let's just call it whatever. Let's just say it's $7,500. I'm being generous, but let's just say it was let's say you're negative $7,500 right from the get go. So the pressure's on. So how are you feeling? Like when you joined the very next day, did you feel like I fucked up? Like I just totally fucked this up. Like, what do I do? Like, how did you feel? Did you have regrets before? I mean, before you first joined, there's not really a lot of action yet, right? So how was the buyer's remorse after you spent the money you don't have, right? You have to survive.
Yeah.
So how did you feel at that time?
Oh, dude, you're bringing me back to a more vulnerable moment. Like, also, I threw it on a credit card, a 0% APR.
Damn.
For 12 months, Chase Business Inc. credit card.
He's still paying it, folks. No, I'm just kidding.
I paid it off. I felt, honestly, I needed my back to be against the wall. I truly needed that because it would have been, let's say I didn't pay or I didn't put this pressure on myself, it would have taken a lot longer. And I would have kept finding excuses. This was my reason to get to work. This is my reason to push myself into action. So really, I was like, instead of thinking like, oh shit, what did I just do? I was thinking, oh shit, I got to get to work. So it lit a fire under my ass that I think really was necessary because I think a really difficult situation to be in is having a pretty comfortable W-2 job and then wanting to dream big enough to also get this entrepreneurial fix or start that business, because sometimes there's not enough pressure on you, or there's not enough of a burning desire because you already have it pretty good or pretty comfortable. Like I was at a place where I was like, I'm forcing my hand and I'm not going to fail. Like I'm going to do whatever it takes at this point. Like that was like a true survival mode for me. And that's what led me to print out the flyers. I went into every coffee shop and put them up and like went into the agent offices, shaking hands. I'm going everywhere. I printed out hats. I'm not wearing it now, but hats with my branding on it. Just so everywhere I went, I was essentially working, and I was conducting my business and trying to attract clients. So it was like really what that money did for me was create urgency. And I think one of the biggest things, I think a lot of it's just time. Like you got to create some form of urgency with the desire that you have. And then it's like a speed to the lead type of game because you want to hold on as much of that hope at the beginning as possible and then use the urgency through whatever pressure you apply on yourself. For me, it was monetary. For other people, they have a kid and they're like, oh shit, I gotta make some more money. I gotta support this family. Whatever it is that's gonna, light a fire under your ass, I think it's almost necessary to like get those bigger results. Those like 0 to 10. I know people that have done way more than that, like 0 to 50. But like having that hope at the beginning that this can work, and then creating some urgency to make it work, and then you take the actions. And then once you start getting some success, I think the biggest thing is like freaking use that momentum. As like I rode my momentum as hard as I possibly could. When I got the first lead, I was like, all right, time for number 2. And I got number 2, and then number 3 came right away. And then 4 and 5 came right after that. And I was just rolling. But if I had stopped or something happened or I got too focused on maybe like setting up some of the operational systems, I think that would have really slowed the progression. And I'm drifting away from the original question, but I guess for me, it created pressure that I needed to create urgency. And then I used that urgency to like go about getting more clients with the momentum that I had got from that first one.
Yeah. I think there's power in the way that you did it too, because like you said, you backed yourself into a corner and
Yeah.
you burned the boat. So it's like, this is the only out. So like, I know a lot of people are trying to do this while they're building a job, and I'm not incentivizing anyone to quit their job. That's not what I'm doing. But there is that power where it's like, hey, this is my only choice to survive, right? Because I did that. I had a
Yeah.
job and I started it, and then I just went all in. But
Yeah.
like, you gave yourself no other option, and there's so much power in that because if you do have an amazing job with the golden handcuffs, you may be more willing to just sit there and be like, okay, well, it's not that necessary. And then a few months go by, like, well, I haven't really made any cold calls. I said I was going to do that, but my job's eating up my time. So like, I'm still making money over here. And then you kind of justify it where you're just like, I guess there's 2 routes you can go. Like there's no wrong answer, but yours was like, no, 0 to 10 in 10 months. Like,
Right.
let's go fucking eat. Right.
Right. A little more extreme. And I don't want it to come off as if you're in a W-2 job, maybe a tech job or something more cushiony, there's so many examples of people that have been successful
doing that on the
side. Yeah. And exactly. But for me, it would have taken a lot longer if I hadn't gone all in and doubled down on spending this money on the coaching program. So you can go.
So like let's talk about your mentorship in the coaching program. You went from a student, now you're one of the coaches, but obviously still a student. So like in that program, how was it in regards to you doing it by yourself without that program versus the shortcuts you were able to experience by being around people that were operating at a higher level? Do you think like you were able to, that had a significant play in from 0 to 10 in under 10 months? Like that had to have something to do with it. Like how much impact was your mentorship program?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say because I didn't experience it without mentorship. What I knew and I valued off the bat was mentorship. I always have seen value in learning from the people that have done it before you. And I did not want to start a business. I mentioned the businesses I was thinking about starting, whether it was house flipping, wholesaling, or something in the STR space. No matter which route I went, I was going to join some form of mentorship program or I was going to go find a mentor. For me, I didn't have the time to go find an unpaid mentor because I had to go like now or yesterday. So I wanted to go find a program or just some form of mentorship that could expedite. The reason we invest in mentorship, in my opinion, is to learn from the mistakes of others and then very heavily cut your learning curve, the time for your learning curve, in half or however much that would be. But I never experienced doing this business without mentorship. All I know is it would have taken me a lot longer because I truly just went through the systems they gave me. And part of that's just placing trust in the program, whatever program you choose. You got to trust they have some pretty good systems. And like, I would try to vet that out if you are considering one. What are the systems they use? Why would that be effective for your business? If we're a co-host, what are the PMSs they're using? What are the revenue management tools they're using? That kind of stuff. Try to vet it out a bit, but I just went plug and play. They said, here, use Price Labs. I said, okay, I'll use Price Labs. Here, check out Hospitable. Here's some templates. I'm not thinking about that. I'm not spending extra time on it. I have exactly what I need to plug in those systems and then move on to something else, which is maybe go find another client or find a better, maintenance servicer, whatever that is. But I give a lot of credit to the mentorship program because my learning curve would have been drastically longer without it. And I see a lot of value in mentorship regardless. Whether this is your business or you're in any other business, I think it's worth investing or finding a mentor.
Yeah, I don't think mentorship just helps you, even if you had a mentor and they had no laid out of use this, use that, but they were just there to coach you. It just builds confidence in you that you can do it, right?
Yeah.
Because you think it's so unreachable, and everybody talks about it nonchalantly as if like, oh well, here I am now. I have all these properties. I've already done it, and it's like watching the guy who learned to ride the skateboard. And you're like, fuck, that looks so easy, and then you fall on your ass, right? It's like the same thing. So, and people don't understand that, and they think that like they're over here listening to you or listening to Austin or whatever, and they're like, oh well, it seems easy enough, but there's issues that happen as well. So, I mean, mentorship's really important. I have a lot of different questions, but so my first question, I'm gonna start with my first one. So how did your family and friends feel about you saying, fuck this, I'm going all in, I'm doing it, I'm Big Daddy Mac, let's go, I'm taking a leak?
That's it.
The path less traveled.
Taking a leak.
Path less traveled.
You had to throw that in there.
I figured I added in somewhere.
Yeah, so I was little funny story. Like I was in my mom Christmas of 2023 now, just like right after I got laid off. I was in this condo. We were on a vacation. I was in this condo like doing some work when we were traveling, and she's like, "What are you working on?" I said, "Oh, I'm just checking out this, like making this website for my company, which I had already been laid off from." And I was telling her I was making this website, but I was really making my own website. And I was asking for feedback on my co-hosting website, and she's giving me feedback thinking this is for my own company. And I'm like, hey, what would you think if I like wanted to start something like this on my own? She said, just don't quit your day job. And I already, it's already done. Like I was already unemployed, but I didn't tell my parents until I got my first client. They didn't even know they didn't know I did.
Would you? You're just like, I'm at work today. Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm just working. Like, just have my normal work days. Like, don't mind me doing my thing.
Awesome.
And
like ditching school.
They didn't know I joined a mastermind and spent thousands of dollars on mentorship until like probably 3 to 4 months in. Like once I had something everything. They just laughed. They're like, "Are you kidding?" Like, really? And I think it's interesting to think about why I didn't tell them. It's easy for them to laugh because I had a few clients by then, and I could justify, hey, just these contracts are going to pay for the the whole mastermind program. But let's say that didn't happen. And then I went through my savings and I'm like, hey, I don't have any money. They're like, why? You have a job. And then I have to tell them I didn't have a job. So it could have been a whole different situation. And the reason I wasn't telling them at first is because there was fear around it. There was fear of, what if this doesn't work out? What if this isn't successful? Coming from a huge, I know you guys talk about like scarcity versus growth mindset, huge scarcity mindset of like, I was just feeling like shit, there's a chance. I kind of accepted like, this might not work out. And then I have to go ask, to move back in with them, whatever that would look like. But they didn't know at the beginning. They didn't know. And I was determined to tell them, but I wanted to tell them on a positive note rather than a negative note. And then my friends, it took kind of one-off conversations over time. Like that also wasn't like a big announcement I made. And then after I got my first client, that's when I was like, all right, time to like foot on the gas. I'm going to post on social media. I'm like that was like my reveal of what I'm doing. And that got some traction. That got people calling me up. Dude, tell me more about this. What are you doing? What is co-hosting? What's STR mean? Like, then I start getting questions and my family finds out, friends find out. And it's like, boom, now we're in it. I've paid the money. I've put this out there into the world. I have now eyes on this. And I'm like, I can't fail at this point. Like, now that I put this out there, it's like foot on the gas, or else I'm just gonna, I don't know. I'm gonna, I think,
crash and burn in this situation.
Yeah, it's like
you be hanging out at the Dairy Queen.
Yeah, too much. No, back to McDonald's, dude.
Yeah,
back to McDonald's. Yeah. But yeah, it took me a second really to like let people know what I was doing, and now I'm like, all right, I gotta let people know what I'm doing way more.
Yeah,
I'm not. I don't. You guys are. This is great. You guys have this platform. Like, I need to figure out a way to be more consistent with posting on this.
Hey guys and gals, I just want to let you know that we're gonna do a live with how to find. Oh shit. Hey guys and gals, I just want to let you know that we're going to be doing a live January 29th at 4 p.m. Central with how to find your next deal using STRIQ. If you don't know what STRIQ is, it's like the Zillow of finding properties based on cash return. We have an episode coming out, or it may have already came out, with Matt Sanderson, the co-founder. It is really an awesome product. So if you want to see that, just come and check out our Facebook event. We'll also go live on YouTube. If you can't find it, just feel free to DM me. I'll give you the link. Also, want to let you know, if you do want to use STRIQ, we do have a code for 20% off. It's Co-host Bros 20. So if you use the code Co-host Bros 20, you'll get 20% off your subscription. So anyway, I hope to see you guys at the live. I want to make sure that you're there because we're going to be giving away some stuff, dropping a bunch of knowledge, and maybe we'll pick you with your question. Who knows? So we hope to see you there, and thanks so much.
Social, putting my name and my brand out there. And it's like, the beginning was total awesome. I was like,
dude, it's hard.
Building in silence until I got something. I wish, honestly, it's easy to say, harder to do, but it would have been cool to document more of the early on journey, just to really like, because you feel the growth, you notice the growth, but to like get a real visual of it would have been cool to document more. But it's too late now, and we can always start.
I don't think we talk about it enough, though. I don't think we talk about the struggling enough. I think we talk about, oh, so amazing, you got 10 properties in 10 months, but what?
Yeah,
like we don't talk about the struggle, right? And I don't think people understand is like a lot of people will not tell their friends and family what they're doing, and it's not your fault. It's your friends and family's fault. They don't believe they could do anything different than what they're doing. That's just them. So they don't believe that you can either. So, I mean, that's just what it is. Like when I first bought my first short-term rental, and we told my mother-in-law, she just like looked at us like, you're stupid, you're gonna lose that house. Like, and then every time she comes, it's like, how's the house? I'm like, oh, it's booked. Oh, there's someone there right now. Oh yeah, there's someone there right now. Oh, we're managing one over here now. What? Like,
They're just
so like
confused.
it piques interest after a while, but it's confusing too because it's like you get complacent, right? So it's like at that point in your life before you started to where you were complacent probably at your job, right? You were complacent with what you were doing.
Yeah.
Everything was good to go, and then right in the face, and you're like, dude, I'm gonna take another to the face. Let me charge my credit card. Here's another one, and let's just keep going from there, right? And you're like, okay, well now I gotta fight my way out of this hole that I dug,
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, it's amazing, and it actually just leads me to my other question because I don't like to talk about sunshine and rainbows. I mean, as much as I want to have a podcast on ant farms someday, I want to talk about the top 3 mistakes that you've made while you're growing because you're growing so fast, right? So you go
Yeah.
from 2 to 3, right? You don't even have time to even look at 2. So what's the 3 biggest mistakes that you had growing your company so quickly?
Um, this might, I mean, it sounds, I think 0 to 10 was great. I think I could have done more actually, because I would stop doing outreach to what the mistake is that I didn't invest very heavily in creating a more streamlined onboarding process. It took me so freaking long. And I was spending so much of my personal time going to the properties, taking the photos, taking the videos, making the inventory charts, stuff like that. So it was not investing in streamlining the operation, or excuse me, the onboarding process sooner, because I could have been the highest dollar per hour activity I believe in our business is outreach and business development. So more so than revenue management or stabilizing the current properties you have. I believe it's just constantly having a deep flow of deals. So a mistake was cutting off that flow because I was getting these leads, and also one form we didn't talk about was some inbound leads, which I was getting through referrals and Google My Business. But cutting off that deal flow was a mistake because I could have, I think, 2x, 3x what I did if I had um, kept doing um, the onboarding myself. The other thing I think is just spending way too much time on things that didn't require that much time. Like I was on, especially like even with owner calls, I was spending like an hour and a half talking to owners when I could have created an FAQ list in 30 minutes and then saved tons of time. So like always thinking about what's a SOP, what's a process or a system I can implement rather than spending all these seconds and minutes and hours we have. I was thinking I had to do everything just manually with brute force, and that also I believe held up potential further growth. Um, the last one, since you asked for 3, is it goes back for like in terms of mistakes, is expectation setting, like I talked about. Like that's letting I don't like letting myself down. I arguably don't like letting other people down more than that. I truly, truly made mistakes when it came to setting expectations for, hey, this is how quickly we can onboard your property. This is how much we can make. Just things you're saying when you're eager and you're growing and you're new that you don't really know otherwise because you just want the business, not really thinking about the repercussions. So it was, it's still something I work on, but like I've gotten so much better at just being like, let's think very objectively here. Let's try to use data as much as we can. So like, for the first few onboardings, it's like, how long does that take you? Maybe it takes you a week. Maybe it takes you 2 weeks. For revenue, like, let's actually look at the numbers. Is this accurate? Are the amenities that you're using for the comps aligning with the amenities of the property you're looking at? Um, is it something that, do you have a criteria for your business for properties you would take on? If you do, will this property still fit in that criteria 3 months down the line if the owner stalls in the sales process? Like setting expectations. And I want to add a bonus one. I designed my fourth client. It was a completely empty property. And I was like, I would do anything for the business for that at that time. And they're like, do you know how we can get this furnished? I was like, yeah, I'll do it. So I went from scratch. This is like a 2,500 square foot house.
You're
And
like, I just paid for STR secrets on my credit card. Like, I'll do anything. I'll furnish it. It's good. I need this.
Straight up. So
gave himself a full-time job.
So this was a huge bottleneck, and this should have been the first thing I brought up. I made a rate for myself. I just threw out a random number. I said, I'll design your property and do all the furnishings and decor. I'll do this for $8,000. And they're like, okay. And I'm like,
I would have said okay too.
Yeah, I know. And now that I know that's actually pretty low when it comes to design services. But at the time I was like, $8,000. Like, this is going to cover most of the coaching program. Like I'll be able to figure it out. I can figure anything out. And I spent 2 months of just nonstop design work and going on Wayfair. I was probably the #1 visitor of the Wayfair website at the time. And I'm sending stuff to the property. I'm going to the property myself to unbox some of the stuff, to pick out a new backsplash, all these things. I spent so much time designing properties. I will always refer out design services from now on, because I've seen firsthand how time consuming and also stressful that can be if you're not a designer. And you'll know if you're not a designer once you start trying to pick throw pillows at Home Goods. Like, it's not for everyone. And it was not for me. So that was another thing. It's like, stay in your lane. Like, let's not try to drift too far out of what we do, which is for me, and it sounds like you guys, we serve owners of short-term rentals.
Try doing it at home. There's like 3 aisles of pillows.
Yeah.
You go to at home, you're like, holy shit.
Yeah. So you're not still currently running that 8K design special anymore, right? Or
no, we took it off the menu.
Oh man,
dude. You know what? Like, here's the thing, though. All that shit doesn't matter, right? Like, because we've all done it. I don't have the exact same recipe of mistakes as you, but I have a nice pot over here of shit that I've done and I've learned from. And I think the message that everybody should take away from this is that, like, this is part of the process and you have to do it. And you have to say, I can furnish things because I think that's going to be part of my business model. And then a month later be like, I made a huge mistake. I'll never do that again. So the point of the whole story is, like, everything you learned, you had to do it yourself first. So you knew, kind of exactly how you wanted to structure your business. So what I think you did a great job was, in the beginning, you said yes to everything. And I think because you said yes to everything up front, you realized later on down the road, now you know what you're going to say no to. But if you don't have that open mind and that willingness to just, like, fall on your face and figure it out, that's why you got to 0 to 10 properties in 10 months. So all that can be, your humbling experience of, like, embarrassment on the show. But to me, that's exactly why you've gotten so far so quickly.
Yeah, that's an interesting.
I did it too.
Yeah,
I don't think it's embarrassment though. I think
I don't even think it's embarrassing. It's sharing mistakes.
I love people's mistakes. Yeah, I love people's mistakes. I love my own mistakes because I learned so much from it. So, like, I had somebody who wanted us to design and install at their property. I basically just subcontracted out and told them it was going to be more than what I was going to pay. Which is probably a better route if you get stuck. If somebody asks you again, but I had other questions, but I think what you're saying is great, because I think a lot of people don't understand. And actually, you added a new question, and I'm sorry, I know we have short on time, so if you need a jet, you let me know immediately. What you said about onboarding, I feel like that's my most time consuming thing. Mm-hmm. I feel like onboarding for me, it just takes a lot longer than it should take.
Yeah.
So can you give some people tips on what is to streamline their onboarding? Actually, can you give me some tips? I don't really care about you guys. I'm just getting some tips. So if you guys want to follow them, you can, but I'm just, this is for me. No.
Yeah.
That's how I ask my questions, man. I just ask questions of what I want to know. Like, it's kind of, this podcast is very selfish, but the questions I ask, I feel like other people might think of them too. So, but I'm like, what does Austin want to know today?
Man, it provides value. I mean,
Totally.
Somebody will
And
take away something from it.
I want to know your guys' answers for this too. I think onboarding is one of the biggest challenges for operators because it is so, if you want to do it well, it requires so much. Someone, whether it's us or someone we hire or the owner, to provide a lot of information about the property and then get a lot of stuff set up on the back end. What's really helped me is I just created this 35-step checklist. I can send it to you. Like I'm not selling anything like this. Like I've spent a lot of time being like, this is what I need to do for onboarding. And I did this all in a Google Doc where I had this a checkbox. I make a copy of it for every property we onboard. And then it's like, let's just going down the list. I don't know if
I want it.
I'll send that to you. I'll make a note to send that to you right after this. But I am very religious when it comes to using that for onboarding properties. There's ways it could be much more efficient, I'm sure. One of the things I also did that's helped is creating like a form. So I use Google Forms for this to get the owner to fill out as much information about the property as possible.
Dude,
so
that's what I was just thinking like the other day. Like we're like, because we're sitting there talking about an owner and I'm like, well, when the fuck is trash day?
yeah,
I don't know.
This is all.
I don't know when trash day is either. So it's like, and then I'm like, oh, if I made a Google form that I made them fill out when they signed the contract that said like, what's trash day? Do you have TV service? Do you have internet service? What's the password? This.
Do you have that currently?
No, actually, I was going to make it the other day. I was literally thinking about that, but I was doing my contract and I was like, God, I need to make a form.
Saves you so much time. I'll send you I have a property information form. I'll send you. It covers everything. I think I got like 50 questions on there, and
these people are going to DM you, man. They're going to ask you for this form.
That's fine. It's again, what we talked about earlier. It's like, just let's add value. You never know where these things can go, these relationships can go. But I think I have 50 questions, and it goes back to expectation setting with the owner. It's like, listen, this is for both of our best interests. This gets us the information we need, and then you just have to do this one time, and then we will take on the rest of the operations. So it'll take you 15 to 30 minutes. Just it goes over like what's the size of the air filters, Wi-Fi, network name, trash day, all the things you mentioned, all the things you need for that property, and you're not spending the time doing it. So that saved me a ton of time. Is sending this form out. I send it with our welcome email. So once that co-hosting agreement is signed, I have a welcome email that goes out, and it says fill out this form. It'll take this long. And then they do that. And then that's when part of our onboarding checklist is get those answers from the owner, put it into our system, which I use Notion for, but that's neither here nor there for this. And then just start checking boxes in this checklist. And eventually, as I scale, is having someone else do this. So whether you hire a boots on the ground onboarding specialist or you hire someone from the local college to go in and take those property walkthrough videos for you and take inventory counts, all that stuff. There's a lot of ways that you can make it easier, but I'm really always tweaking my onboarding process. I think it's good right now, but I want to make it even quicker where I can onboard properties within a week and I'm not doing most of the work.
Yeah, because I feel like I need to get my hands on it, but then it's like I have a list, but then I'm over there doing other things and I'm not thinking about my list. And I'm like, yeah. And I was just thinking like a form would be so much easier. And my Google form wasn't going to be as in depth as yours because I kind of felt like people were like annoyed, like what size of the air filters are like, how the fuck am I supposed to know? I only stay there once a month. You know what I mean?
And I say, if you don't know, just say NA. We'll figure it out. If you don't know, like do the best you can. Then the rest is like, I'm still going to the properties. If they're not answered, then I'm going to go figure that out. And I'm going to take photos of everything, all the appliances, take videos of the whole house, that kind of stuff. I do got to jump, however, or unless there's any like final questions, I could do like a couple more minutes.
We'll wrap it up.
No, you gotta go. I do have a bunch more, but we'll take it offline someday.
Let's do this again, man. More too. That's right.
We need another co-host, bro. We might have to do a three part. No.
Yeah, a little trio.
You fit the energy. So, Yeah, just let everybody know where they can find you and, follow you, and really just thank you for coming on. And I learned a lot, and I'm sure Austin still has a ton of questions for next round, and I got a ton of questions for next round. If you want to just do a part 2, just reschedule. You have the link.
Yeah,
we're available the last Friday of this month. I think that's the only slot we got left this month.
There you go.
But
keep it full.
Yeah.
So people can find
sure.
me on LinkedIn's probably best. Ryan, Ryan Leake, Leake. And yeah, reach out. Like if someone's listening, they want that onboarding form or that property information form, happy to share. Whatever it is. Yeah.
Love it.
Love being on here, man. This was fun.
Yeah. It is fun. We're going to have to meet up in person since we're all so close to each other. Just do an in-person meetup one of these days where we all just go to lunch or go to the shooting range or whatever. It is Texas, right? I mean, shooting range, and we can go to church after.
Dairy Queen after that.
Yeah, the Dairy Queen after that, baby. Or Bucky's probably. No. But yeah.
All right.
Austin froze. But thank you so much for your time, Ryan, and I'll let Austin take us out, and we'll just wrap it up.
Peace.
All right, thank you, guys.
Hey, guys, thanks so much for listening to the show. We just want to say thank you, and if you get an opportunity to rate us on your favorite podcast platform, that would be awesome. Also, if you have another chance, just give us a follow on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, pretty much everywhere you can find us. I really appreciate y'all listening. If you have questions, please hit us up, info@cohostbros.com, or just shoot me a DM, shoot Austin a DM, and we'll get your questions on the show. If you want to be on the show, hit us up, info@cohostbros.com. Thanks again for listening, and please just leave us a review. Thanks, everybody.
The Co-Host Bros Podcast.